So we finally got a secret pack for these very expensive anime janks, so let's talk about them. The first one is 7th Ascension. This is a searcher that lets you take one card from your deck, either a Barian spell trap, a rank up magic quick play spell, or a 7th spell trap except 7th Ascension, and either add it to your hand or place it on top of your deck. There are only 2 cards that you want to place on top of your deck. That's rank up magic 7th one and Barian Chaos Draw. And that is because these cards can only activate if you draw them during your draw phase, then you can reveal them, and during the main phase 1 you can activate their effects. The 7th one has the effect that allows you to special summon a number monster between 101 and 107 from the graveyard or extra deck. Then you're going to rank up that monster into a chaos number with the same number as that monster. If you were to activate Barian Chaos Draw, well, you can send one 7th normal spell from your deck to the graveyard, and this effect becomes that effect when it is activated. The only 2 normal 7th spells right now are 7th Ascension and the 7th one, so if you were to activate Chaos Draw, it's basically just a second copy of the 7th one to special summon a chaos number. Chaos Draw also has the option to activate its second effect instead, to special summon 2 monsters from your deck, and then immediately use those 2 monsters and any other monsters on the field to then exi summon into a number monster. You can also use extra copies of your hand traps and board breakers to summon number monsters with ranks that you normally wouldn't be able to access with just your main monsters. So if your opponent wipes your board, then you can use Barian Chaos Draw or 7th one to summon an XZ and maybe even make a comeback. But okay dude, it's a nice gimmick, but then you'd actually have to survive the turn and then draw it, and most games don't even last more than 1 or 2 turns. In fact, in the last 20 games, I've only managed to get to turn 3, the turn you would actually draw these spells, only 5 times.
Another issue is that these cards only activate if you draw them, so if you open with 7th one or Barian Chaos Draw, they are dead cards. You can use the second effective 7th Ascension to unbrick 7th one, but only if your opponent controls an extra deck monster. Then you can banish 7th Ascension from the graveyard, then activate 7th one from your hand. This is a heavy requirement since it usually only works going second, and not every deck plays extra deck monsters.
But it doesn't unbrick Chaos Draw. At the moment, there's no way to unbrick Chaos Draw. This makes Barian Chaos Draw a riskier version of 7th one. So unless you're actually using the second effect of Barian Chaos Draw to summon 2 monsters from the deck, it may not be worth the risk. If you have found a good use case for Barian Chaos Draw's effect, feel free to share it in the comments below. The Barian Untopia field spell has 2 effects. The first effect protects your number monsters that you control between number 101 and 107, as well as chaos monsters you control, from card destruction as well as protecting them from cards that target. It is nice protection, but most of the time you're not summoning these types of monsters. Often you have things like Armored Xyz, Kragan, Abyss Dweller. None of these monsters are getting protection from this field spell. The second effect is a once per turn effect. If you rank up a XZ monster with a rank up magic spell, you can target that XZ and one monster your opponent controls, and attach that opponent's monster to that XZ as material.
I'm in a different room right now, so the audio is going to sound a little different, but the field spell has a very powerful removal. It requires that you summon using rank up spells, which is very difficult to do consistently. This means both effects of the field spell are very situational, because they require very specific extra deck monsters to be on the field, which sadly makes the field spell a dead draw most games. The Barian spells are full of card effects that all seem to have a very hard time to set up, which would make these cards uncompetitive. Time will only tell if upcoming Zexal packs will release support to make the cost requirements easier. Because of how many bricks the Barian cards have, I decided to increase the deck size to 60 to draw them less often. If we look at the 2 decks, one with 40 cards and the other a grass Barian deck, we can see that after more than 40 games, the deck size with 60 cards has a much higher win rate at 65%, or 2 wins for every 1 loss. While the 40 card size deck is at a pretty bad 45% win rate, you're losing a little bit more often than you win. This poor win rate might be due to the fact that the 7th and Barian cards are taking up space that would normally go to hand traps, while the 60 card deck has a significant board breaking potential if you resolve grass.
So let's see the deck in action. If you're unfamiliar with Grass Looks Greener, it's a spell that lets you mill cards from the top of your deck until your deck is equal to the amount of cards your opponent has. So if you have 60 cards and your opponent has 40 cards, you're going to be able to mill 20 cards from the top of your deck and do a bunch of funny stuff from the graveyard. This deck is really good with grass because Darew lets you draw 2 cards, so if your opponent has a hand trap like Ash Blossom, they're likely going to use it on Darew. And that will let us resolve our grass looks greener. Here the opponent used Effect Veiler on Jagaris, but we're going to go into Armored Exi Fortress and search again, and this time they're going to use their Ash Blossom. I played about 50 games with this deck, and I was always successfully able to bait Ash Blossom with either Jagaris Armored Exi Fortress, or some other card like Leaffish or Buzzsaw Shark. Now we can resolve grass, mill 20 cards, and do some funny stuff. We're going to rank up into Crystal Zero Lancer, and then rank up again into Full Armor Dark Knight Lancer. Here we can use the effect of Dark Knight to grab an Exi spell or trap card from the graveyard, or an Exi monster card. We're going to grab the Exi Armor trap card, and use Leaffish to shuffle 3 fish back into the deck, and draw a card. I often use Dark Knight Lancer to grab an Exi Remora from the graveyard, because that's going to be our best extender to get as many Exis on the field as possible. But here I already had a Bishark, so I used it to search for Remora and activate its effect. But the opponent did have a third hand trap, so they're going to negate that Remora. I'll banish the Ice Barrier trap card from the graveyard to send a level 5 or higher water monster to the graveyard and add any water monster in the graveyard to my hand. So I'll use it to add the Exi Remora to my hand. And then Exi Summon into Stealth Kragan, detach 2 materials with Exi Remora, and special summon 2 level 4 fish from the graveyard. So the opponent scoops because they know I'm going to summon Abyss Dweller, and they're playing Dark World. So it's very easy to resolve grass with this deck if we happen to draw it. So now we're going second against Tier Elements. We're going to use Imperm on Kid Kalos. They use Super Poly from their hand, and they're going to just keep doing their combo anyway, and we're just going to skip ahead. Now it's my turn. We're going to activate the Ready Fusion. They're going to negate it with Tier Element Rakalos. They'll have to tribute one of their own monsters in order to negate this card. So they're going to tribute their Tier Element Kaleido Heart, bring back the Kaleido Heart, activate Kaleido Heart to send a Tier Element monster to the graveyard. That Tier Element monster will then fusion summon into a Tier Element Kid Kalos. Kid Kalos will send a tier monster to the graveyard and fusion summon again. This time into a Predaplant, Dragos Depelia. We'll then activate Grass Looks Greener. They have no cards in their hands, so we know they don't have Ash Blossom. So you don't want to activate Leaffish if you don't have enough fish for Remora to resolve. So we got lucky and drew into 7th Ascension. We'll activate it to add 7th one to our hand, then banish 7th Ascension from the graveyard to activate the 7th one from our hand, to special summon a number 104 Masquerade from the extra deck, then immediately rank it up into C104 Umbral Horror. On summon, Umbral Horror can target any spell or trap card and destroy it. As long as Umbral Horror has 104 as material, it can negate monster effects. We're going to chain Exi Import to our Umbral Horror to attach Fenrir before all of these monster effects resolve, preventing them from activating that Fenrir. 104 will then negate Predaplant, destroy the spell or trap card in the back row. Because Umbral Horror is a rank 5, we can rank it up into Dark Knight Lancer, then activate the effect of Dark Knight to add Exi Import back to our hand, and then normal summon the Leaffish to send Gazer Shark to the graveyard, special summon the Abyss Shark, add Remora to the hand. Then we'll activate Crystal Shark, targeting their Kalos, special summoning the Crystal Shark from the graveyard, Exi summon Crystal Shark and Abyss Shark into Exi Armored Fortress. Now these combos are not linear, so they are going to be dependent on what you draw and what you mill to the graveyard. So you are going to need to know a lot about how all these fishes interact with each other. So now we're going to use Exi Remora to special summon 2 fish from the graveyard. We're dueling against a deck that needs the graveyard, so we're going to summon Abyss Dweller. Then we'll use Remora and Leaffish to Exi summon into number 4 Stealth Kragan. We'll activate the effect of Gazer Shark, banish the Gazer Shark to special summon 2 level 5 fish from the graveyard, and immediately Exi summon into an Exi monster using those monsters as material. Now we can start clearing the board. We'll activate the effect of Nash Knight, suck up one of their monsters, attach the Kaleido Heart as material. We'll destroy the Predaplant with number 4 Stealth Kragan, deal some bird damage. We'll equip one of our Exis from the graveyard, activate Dark Knight to attach Rakalos, and now we can go into the battle phase. Now we can start swinging for that OTK. If you resolve grass, as you can see, it's going to be pretty easy to OTK. We'll start our combo with Chthona. If we control no effect monsters, we can special summon it. Then we'll normal summon Buzzsaw, target the Chthona, special summon Remora from the deck, and then exi summon using the 2 fish into Dagaris. Dagaris will detach both fish. The game didn't pause, so there's a very good chance the opponent does not have Ash Blossom. So here's one funny interaction that Thrust has with Silent Wobby. If your opponent activates a monster effect this turn, you can use Thrust to set a normal spell or trap card onto the field. But if your opponent has a monster on the field, you can add it to your hand instead. So you can give Silent Wobby to your opponent, and it will activate an effect that counts as your opponent activating an effect. This lets you use Thrust to add grass to your hand. The probability of drawing Thrust going first and searching Silent Wobby is pretty high. About 2 out of 3 games that you draw Thrust, you'll also have a card that searches for Silent Wobby. You're giving your opponent 1 draw, which is the drawback, but if you resolve grass, then you're effectively drawing like 20 cards anyway, so it evens out, right? We already have Exi Remora in the hand, so we're going to use Dark Knight to add Exi Splash, activate Remora to special summon 2 fish from the graveyard, and then we'll Exi summon using both Remora and Buzzsaw Shark into an Abyss Dweller. Going blind against the opponent, Abyss Dweller is one of the best Exis you can summon because, you know, it skips turns if your opponent does happen to be playing a graveyard deck. Then we'll special summon Stealth Kraken, banish the Ice Bearer trap card, send a Abyss Shark to the graveyard to add Abyss Shark to our hand. We'll special summon Abyss Shark. We don't need extenders, so we'll add Leaf Fish for the following turn. We'll special summon Crystal Shark from the graveyard, and then Exi summon, using Crystal Shark and Abyss Shark as materials into a Nash Knight. Then we're going to set both of our Exi trap cards and pass the turn to the opponent. It's usually best to activate Abyss Dweller in the standby phase before main phase 1, in case they negate it with like Dark Ruler or Kaiju it. So if I had to redo this match, I would not wait for the main phase 1 to activate Abyss Dweller. Sometimes you might want to wait until main phase 1 if the game pauses and your opponent might have Imperm. In this case, it looks like the opponent is playing a back row deck and they're going to end their turn. I'll activate the effect of Dark Knight to add the armored spell to the hand. Then I'll activate that armored spell to equip an Exi monster from the graveyard to one of my monsters. To equip their face down monster to it as material, I'll move Abyss Dweller to defense position because I'm scared of storming Mirror Force. So now we know the opponent is playing a burn deck. So we're going to take 2400 damage here. We go into the battle phase. And they have Dimension Wall, so we're going to take that damage. They have another Fairy Dragon, so we're going to take more damage. And with 400 life points left, the opponent discards a card to inflict 1000 burn damage, and we lose. So we do have another 7th card in our deck called 7th Eternity, and this one has a cost and 2 effects. To activate this trap card, you need to control a number monster between 101 and 107, or have an Exi monster on the field with one of those monsters as material. The easiest way to do this is to summon Nash Knight, right, and attach a number 101 to 107 as material. So in this replay, we already summoned Nash Knight, and if the opponent normal summons a monster, we'll have to suck it up and attach a number monster between 101 and number 107 as material, and then we can flip over 7th Eternity and negate the next monster effect the opponent has on the field. But that's a bit too slow, right? So instead, what we can do if we want to speed things up is we can activate Nash Knight and suck up a free body that's on the field. Here we have a free body on the field because Exi Remora special summoned 2 fish from the graveyard to make Abyss Dweller, and we had an extra body left. So now we have number 101 attached to Nash Knight as material, so we can set our 7th Eternity spell. And at the beginning of the main phase, if the opponent does normal summon a monster, we'll be able to negate it. Normal summons tend to be a much stronger negate. They tend to be much more powerful effects that search the deck or do something, like Snake Eye Ash, Deepsea Diva. So once your opponent does normal summon a monster and activate an effect, we can flip over 7th Eternity, then target one of our Exi monsters with a number 101 as material, so we can then target the opponent's monster and negate it. Now we'll take a look at 7th Eternity's second effect. If you're going first and you have 7th Ascension, then you're going to want to add 7th Eternity to the hand. We're going to normal summon Buzzsaw Shark, summon a Remora from the deck, and then we're going to Exi summon into our Dagaris. We'll activate the effect of Dagaris to detach 2 materials, draw 2 cards, and discard one of them. We'll discard the Ice Barrier trap card, and then rank up Dagaris into Eggsy Armor Fortress. We'll activate the effect of Eggsy Armor Fortress, detaching Dagaris, to add full armored Eggsy trap card to the hand, rank up Eggsy Armor Fortress into full armored Crystal Zero Lancer, rank up Crystal Zero Lancer into a full armored Dark Knight Lancer. We'll activate the effect of Ice Barrier, banish it to send Abyss Shark from the deck to the graveyard, and then we'll add it to our hand. Abyss Shark will special summon, add an Eggsy Remora to the hand, detach 2 materials from full armored Dark Knight, special summon 2 level 4 fish from the graveyard, and then we'll rank up Eggsy Remora and Buzzsaw Shark into a number 4 Stealth Kraken. We'll activate Crystal Shark, target the Abyss Shark to special summon Crystal Shark, and then use Crystal Shark and Abyss Shark as materials to Eggsy summon into our Nash Knight. We'll activate the effect of Nash Knight, detaching 2 materials, to attach number 101 and a free body as material. Now we could end our turn here, but another thing we can do is we can rank up the Nash Knight into CXZ Nash Knight, so we can detach the Remora, and then rank up into C101. This will allow us to get another Eggsy on the field, because then we can use Dark Knight Lancer to target the Eggsy Remora and add it to our hand, and then detach 2 materials to special summon 2 fish from the graveyard, and then we'll get another Eggsy on the field. Now here is where you want to summon Abyss Dweller, but for some reason I went to a Stealth Kraken spawn. Not really sure what I was thinking here. We'll set our trap cards and then pass our turn. So a monster summoned by CXZ Nash Knight's effect will be destroyed at the end of the opponent's turn if it's still on the field. The opponent's going to set 5 and pass, so our chaos number will be destroyed. Dark Knight's effect activates. If it's destroyed with overlay units, it will return from limbo. We'll gain life points equal to its attack, then we'll activate full armored Eggsy, rank up Silent Honor Dark. We'll give our Dark Knight some full armor, and then we'll activate 7th Eternity, detach all materials from one of our Eggsies, and then special summon one of our number monsters from the graveyard. This will bring back our Chaos 101. Now we're going to find out if all this shuffling around did anything. So the opponent is playing another burn deck. The opponent's chaining each trap card, each one dealing burn damage. Then they're going to flip over a Ring of Destruction, target our Dark Knight. That's going to be destroyed. Or is it? We'll respond with full armored Eggsy to target our Dark Knight Lancer and protect it from card destruction. We'll equip an Eggsy from the graveyard to Dark Knight. Ring of Destruction resolves, destroying the equipped monster. And then we'll take 3,000, 1,400, and another 2,400 damage. One thing to mention is that Dark Knight is soft once per turn, so this also means you'll be able to look into the graveyard twice and add any Eggsy cards back to your hand or extra deck. So we're going to go into the battle phase. They're going to activate Dimension Wall, and that's going to put us at 1,200 life points. If we did not gain life points because of Chaos 101, we would have lost this match.
That's my Grass Barian deck. If someone manages to build a 40 card size Barian deck with a higher win ratio than the one I built, share it in the comments below or I'll make a video on it. So sayonara.